Welcome again to Information and Insights. I'm Dr. Stephen Hampe, candidate for the Rome City School District's Board of Education. Today I want to address one of the more confusing but essential aspects of district funding. From where does the money come? I grew up in Massachusetts where school districts were the same as the towns, one town, one school district. There, property taxes were the primary funding source for schools, and that's what many believe to be true here, when in fact they don't represent even 1/3 of the district's income. The vast majority actually comes from New York State, known as foundation aid. More on that in a moment. A sliver of it comes from payments in lieu of taxes, or pilots, the tax breaks given to attract commercial ventures to the city. Some would call them a necessary evil. There is some federal funding, and other income comes from various grants. If there's any shortfall, the district can tap into a modest savings account known as fund balance. Now, when it comes to the state portion, foundation aid, this is all based on a formula which, once upon a time, was intended to balance the relative needs of the various districts across the state. Unfortunately, over time, there's been much tinkering with this formula to the point that it's virtually impossible to predict how much a district should receive. At times, it can seem that the formula looks like this, when it actually is this. Unfortunately, a key component of the miracle that occurs is the governor, who can prioritize certain factors over others, rather undermining the balancing effect originally intended with the formula. Truth of the matter is, the RCSD has received, on average, only 80 to 85% of what the formula says it would otherwise be entitled to. So the education and finance professionals have to plan for the following year, never quite knowing how much money that they're going to have to work with, but always aware that there's a formula that isn't being used properly that would provide even more. Then, for those who like to insinuate there's always some waste somewhere to cut, the vast majority of district expenses are obligatory. Mandatory academic offerings, legally mandated supported learning services, contractually required employee salary and benefits. Any extras, and often support for some of the core services, are often funded by grants sought after and won by the district administration, who are also frequently targeted as a bloated expense. In reality, those obligated expenditures, especially health insurance, go up in price every year, and then falls to the district administrators, who cost the district 1/10 of the total budget, to figure out how to make do with what funds we do get. Now, the tax rate is never a popular topic, but some might suggest that a significant increase there could stabilize district funding. Except, by law, districts are capped at how much they can even request the public to increase the tax levy, a formula which, of course, requires a slide rule, advanced education in quantum mechanics, and perhaps a stiff drink. At present, a 1% increase in the tax levy equates to about $350,000, which may sound like a lot compared to your household budget, but in reality is to the equivalent of about 3 new school buses. For those who might rant about there being all sorts of financial shenanigans that need to be rooted out, some have even run for the board claiming they'll find them, there are state-mandated internal and external audits that occur every year. All of the information about budgeting, funding, and expenditures is regularly reported to the board and to the public. All of the slides used in this video today came from Superintendent Blake's public budget presentations he's made over the past 4 years. Now, what the board really should be doing, instead of trying to interfere with the district professionals doing the jobs they were hired to do, is to represent the district and interface with state leaders to get the foundation aid formula returned to its original intent, so that the Rome City School District receives proper funding based upon its size, its need, and the socioeconomic status of its residents. That's something I focused on during my presidential year and would work to resume if I return to the board. This has been Information and Insights. I'm Dr. Stephen Hampe, and here's where you can cast your votes this coming Tuesday, May 18th, to elect me to the Rome City School District Board of Education.